Hello, my name is Tom Singer, and this is Concert Cues for the Billings Symphony Orchestra and Chorale. Tonight, we're talking about the Nutcracker, and our guests today are Matt Carney from the San Diego Ballet and Sarah Ioannides. Did I get it right?
Yes.
Greek name, it's all Greek to me, who is our guest conductor for this orchestra. She's with the Tacoma Symphony, but gracing Billings with her presence tonight. So, where I want to start is, you guys didn't know one another until you both got to Billings, right?
That's right.
Correct.
And here we are doing an artistic endeavor, and we're jumping in without knowing one another. Is that a challenge?
I'd say it's a good challenge, and I think based on the rehearsal that we just had, it's working out really well.
That's cool.
It's part of that artistic process. You know, it's never a complete product. And so when we come together, there's still that tail end of the artistic process. So I don't know, I look forward to that part before a show.
So Matt, you've come with the San Diego Ballet to Billings 14 different times. And what is it that attracts you back and back?
It's great to be here. The people are wonderful. It's great to know some of my favorite shops to go around. That's kind of not necessarily artistic, but just to be in the city. We've always been welcomed with open arms, and the leadership with the Billings Symphony Orchestra has been so organized and thoughtful with their communication and opening up this opportunity for us. So it's part of what we do and part of this collaboration that it's great to be here. Yes. We look forward to it, and so do the dancers.
That's terrific. And Sarah, this is your first time in Billings.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
First time in Montana?
Actually, I drove across the country during the pandemic with my family instead of flying, so we kind of flew by Billings. We didn't get to visit, so this is the first time in the city.
Okay. And have you had time to see or do anything while you were here?
Not yet, but I'm looking forward to the parade, which is about to come by. I'm here for the Nutcracker, though. That's what I'm here for.
That's terrific. So then let's talk a little bit about the Nutcracker. Very familiar piece, played every year here and many, many other places. Are we doing a particular version of it or particular pieces from it? Are we doing the whole thing? What's the plan for this weekend?
Yeah, we are doing the complete Nutcracker, and it is just always so exciting for me to do it again. I mean, one of the unique things about any collection of performances is there's a whole new set of people to work with and to bounce off each other. And I think, like you were implying, Matt, you know, we sort of do our own thing in our own places, and then finally everybody comes together, and it's like a miracle how special that collaboration is. So this I think it's going to be special performance.
Well, and you're playing for 3 performances that are full houses. This concert's sold out. Suggests there's some eagerness to see live performance again. It may also have something to do with 100 children being part of the cast. Is this your job to manage those, or who does that?
It's the community. It's everyone coming together. We really, it's important to us that there are local people in the show to help that they have their first time either performing on stage or a first time performing with a professional company. So what you see is not just the show. These are months of planning and coordination. We usually come out in September and do an audition for the children, which I led that this year. And you know, sometimes it's their first time auditioning and having that experience. But you know, we want them to be, we're very San Diego, I guess, to be chill. But you know, we want them to have a good first experience doing that audition, because that's something that will be valuable for them doing summer programs or something like that. And so it's really great to just be part of the community in that way, more than just for the showtime.
That's great. So we were talking a little bit beforehand about the piece, and you two seem to be discovering some things about the piece and its development that dancers and musicians didn't both know. And so can we talk about that a little bit? What's the development of this piece? How does it work?
So in the second act, shortly after the opening, there's a set of very famous dancers, Spanish, Chinese, Arabian, Russian, and something we call mirliton. And Matt was saying how they're putting them more back in the original order that Tchaikovsky wrote them in.
So there were groups that shuffled them?
Yeah. So
well, I think, this is new information. So even though I've been doing this show for San Diego Ballet alone for 14 years, you learn something new every year. But that sometimes we would do the different variations in different orders because of costume changes or lighting cues, or just sort of put the show in a certain way. But recently we learned that there's a certain chord and tempo progression in the composition that we'd like to honor even more. And it was sort of, one piece might give hints to something else, or it's not like a song cycle necessarily, like
a variations on
like that, but there are certain elements of the entire composition that it's not just small pieces randomly put together. It really tells a story.
Yeah. Tchaikovsky knows how to keep the drama and the intensity moving forward, and so the pacing of the work and the tempo transitions, as well as the way that each part moves from key to key, has an obvious logic that goes beyond, one little piece, because quite often you have a 3 or 4 minute little chunk and there can be applause. But we try to do it as much as possible so that it's continuous and that evolvement happens. And of course, we have to applaud because they're incredible dancers. Right. But still, just to keep that pacing, keep that intensity and the drama, let the drama unfold through the piece.
So this builds, in effect. It's working towards some kind of climax. Musically, it's working toward a climax as well as with the story. Do they coordinate? I mean, is the climax musically the same place as the climax in the story?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's sometimes, what came first, music or the dance? Are we dancing to music, or are we being accompanied by music? And, with a piece like this, it really comes together, It's neither one is working for the other, but the climactic point and sort of that the tempo changes and things that will inspire the audience's ear, I think they'll have a similar reaction visually. And that's kind of the magic. I mean, we can overthink it, right? And think, oh, well, this is where the climax is. But if we sort of, stay true to the music, that's the art, that's the magic. That climactic point would have some synergy.
So let's step back for a second and talk about you. We sort of jumped right into the music. Your name, Greek, are you Greek, or is this, where were you raised?
Well, my father is a Greek Cypriot.
Okay.
He was born in Cyprus, and my mother is Scottish.
Oh, of course.
Of course. And I was born in Australia and raised in England, and now I live in the US. So connect the dots somehow.
A woman of many countries. And how long have you been at Tacoma?
It's my 8th season.
Okay. And your resume suggests that you're very busy with doing this kind of guest conducting in other locations.
I do conduct quite a bit. I have my regular number of weeks with Symphony Tacoma, and I travel when the opportunity affords itself and when I think I can manage it in the schedule. I also have a family, and so.
Yeah. Well, thank you for giving up your Thanksgiving weekend to be here.
It's a pleasure.
Did you get to bring any of the family with you?
I thought about it, but I'm actually heading on to Long Island to work with Stony Brook University. So we decided that just the short trip here would probably take them away from their friends and have us going in different directions. So maybe next time.
Yeah, well, I understand, but that's, yeah, great. And you talked about only 14 years with San Diego. What's your background before that? Are you a dancer yourself?
I am a dancer. I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. So this is kind of the Midwest area. It sort of has a familiar.
That's where the Lewis and Clark expedition started, and we went through here.
We came here eventually, yeah. So born and raised there, and trained in Kansas City, and so was always connected to the deep roots of music and that live music in those two cities.
Oh,
so
sure.
throughout my whole training, there was always live music in the classroom and also for performance. So I definitely carry that with me, and moved to San Diego about 15 years ago and started with the ballet after that. I was a dancer, am a dancer. I still have a kind of sort of a character part in this show, but it's great to sort of pass along some of those roles to other dancers. And, during that time, the market crashed in 2008, and I just started thinking about, well, how do you keep the lights on, and how do you support the local economy, and what is the economic impact of dance, and how can we support the community holistically and from a macro perspective? So switched some gears there, and has led me to where I'm at. I say 1 foot in the studio, 1 foot in the office still. Kind of keeps my balance.
Well, and somebody trying to manage performance that isn't a performer themselves, it seems to me that would be hard, very hard.
Yeah, it's sort of all choreography, It's in the dance art form. It's, how can you get from A to B in a creative way? And I think I can bring that to some of the executive leadership of how can we think of creative solutions.
Yeah, you obviously have some sense of the financial aspect of it too, which you can never let go of, and that's often the issue with performers who turn into managers, is that they're all artistry and no taking care of the money. The orchestra here, you've worked with it for 14 years. Do you see it going a direction? Do you see changes in it over time?
It's been so sustainable with the previous executive director and now the executive director, Ignacio Barron, that you can tell that the programming is getting tighter. It seems like there's so many offerings and different genres and with jazz, and it's the anchor in this region, which is really nice to have that for a city like Billings, to have such a reputable symphony orchestra right in your hometown.
That's right. So I'm going to ask your impression. I don't expect you to say that they're horrible, but I'm curious what your impression is comparing it to the orchestras you played with elsewhere.
Well, they clearly love what they do, and they're great communicators. We just had one rehearsal together. We only get 2 for this show, so it's not very much time to get to know each other, but I'm really enjoying working with them, and tremendous musicians. And as I said, I think they're excited to do Nutcracker. How many years they've been doing it,
yes.
I don't know, but
Many more years than he's been with bringing the ballet.
It's so nice that they still have questions. Well, how about this? Are you going to do this here? So it's nice that for them it stays fresh as well.
Yeah.
I like that point, because I don't know how it is really for musicians. I'd imagine it's similar. We have sort of a rare opportunity to reinvestigate work, because we're so caught up in doing the season and making sure next season is different than the previous season and having diversity within the season, that what is refreshing about Nutcracker, and maybe this for a musician as well, is that, this is my 20th year probably doing something with the show, but it's nice to have something to go back to every year and find a nuance, find a key change, find, is it the left leg or the right leg, where's my light, or just to keep it interesting.
Do you direct the Nutcracker at Tacoma or anywhere else, or is this your only performance?
No, I have this year. This is the only sequence of performances. I have done it in Tacoma. Yeah.
But it's not an annual tradition there like it is here.
They do, but they have, it's a big sort of area, and they have a lot of conductors in that area.
So it's not one of your gigs necessarily.
other things at that time,
Yeah.
right at this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and options that we don't have in a community that's isolated as that, because Tacoma's close to Washington, or Seattle and Portland and all sorts of places. I hadn't thought about that possibility, how you could move people through. And I'm guessing that part of the reason that you're guest conducting here is to refresh it in the same way, to bring a different set of eyes to the orchestra and that music, because Anne's been doing it kind of every year, and so it probably freshens up that way too, right?
I think it is always healthy to keep things fresh, and it's really nice of Anne to have me come and take the reins for her orchestra this year. So, thank you to Anne. Hi, Anne.
Do you know one another?
Informally, we've met, and I've known about her work and vice versa. So. It's a small circle of conductors, we all know each other.
Yeah, well, and especially female conductors, extraordinary. And it's always fascinated me that somebody years ago pointed out that directors stand up and turn their back to the audience. They won't see you doing it this time because you're in the pit, but that's kind of a brave thing to do, and maybe a masculine thing to do. I don't know, to have that kind of confidence that you can do that. What prompted you to decide that it was musical direction you wanted to do rather than performance of another kind?
I think just having ideas about the way the music goes and the way I want it to sound and the way I want to express it. I played a number of instruments, and violin, piano, French horn, and I always just wanted to immerse myself in the full orchestra, and was very interested in all sorts of things surrounding the music as well. So I didn't get held back, and I just kept trying to learn more and more. There's a lot to learn before you become a conductor. So it's been.
Any particular mentors that you had that
I've had many mentors. Yeah, they're not all conductors, by the way.
Yeah, well, that's some of my mentors as a lawyer are actually conductors, music conductors, and teachers. So I mean, I know how that can go.
But my main teacher in the US was at Juilliard and Curtis, Otto Werner Müller. So he was a tremendous, legendary teacher, actually.
Yeah, that's cool. How about you? Mentors?
Oh yeah, I mean it's probably one of my biggest blessings in life are the teachers that have just randomly crossed my path, and I think that when we think about art, sort of again away from the product of it, but that we're passing on a folklore, we're passing on a tradition, that there's things that we can learn in books, and we've all taken theory and all the things that we have to do, but that passing of the knowledge is so important. And I think kind of where I emerged in my professional life, like mentioning again around 2008, where there was kind of a mass retirement of baby boomers and things like that. So heading into the bulk of my career has involved transition of leadership and a lot of mentor opportunities. So I feel like, especially with dance organizations, now there's a lot of founders that have had these organizations for 50 years or so, and they're transitioning into the new paradigm. And that just kind of happened to be when I was ready to go to work every day. So it's like, so that really has been a real big part of it, about passing on that knowledge of, what is it to be not fabulous, but to be tenacious and loyal.
You're nodding your head a lot. What's your reaction to this?
Oh, I just love what he's saying. I like your philosophy, especially it being more than just, sort of going out and doing it again. It's like, why is this important, and who is this for? And let's nurture the next generation of artists and concert goers, and because after COVID we all know that life is just not the same when you can't go out and enjoy the arts.
Well, the two of you are going to do that this weekend for 4,000 concert goers and 100 young dancers. It's going to be a great set of performances. Thank you so much for coming to Billings, and thank you for spending a few minutes with us.
Thanks for having us.